And if the human doesn't know they're interacting with a computer, the test is passed.
And what does a pass tell us?
That the computer has artificial intelligence.
The concept of man versus machine has been explored in drama films like Her, in action and thriller films like Terminator or I, Robot, and in earlier works like Blade Runner and 2001: A Space Odyssey. Each movie was trying to pose a question and show a glimpse of a possible future where an AI is present. So how does this movie carve up a niche in a question that has been asked and answered so many times? And is the movie any good? Let's find out. I'm Meffistoe. Like, share, and subscribe because this is my review of the movie Ex Machina.
I turned to Caleb, and he looked up at me and he said, "You're not a man, you're God."
Yeah, but I didn't say that.
Ex Machina is a sci-fi film written and directed by Alex Garland. This was, of course, Garland's debut film. However, Garland's story has had its beginnings back when he was just a young teenager and started to learn how to code. Later on in college, he was posed this philosophical question: can a computer be sentient? Which led to him exploring that avenue for a long time. The most notable thing about the production side of this movie is the special effects and how they were done. There was no green screen use, however the robot effects were done using a special mesh outfit that was later used by the VFX team to reference the effect and convert it into a half robot, half human like features.
Would you like to know how old I am?
Sure.
I'm one.
One what? 1 year or 1 day?
One.
Ex Machina tells the story of Caleb Smith, a programmer that won an office contest to go and stay for a week at his recluse's boss's home.
Oh.
Take your key card.
Once there, he discovers that he is there for a specific purpose. His boss, Nathan, signs him on a non-disclosure agreement and tells him that he managed to create a real-life AI.
Are you building an AI?
I've already built one. And over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test.
But in order to verify that it is really sentient, he brought in Caleb to administer the Turing test, a test that will determine if the AI is self-aware or not.
The real test is to show you that she's a robot and then see if you still feel she has consciousness.
Caleb is then introduced to Ava, the robot AI, and through his conversations with her, Caleb understands that there are other forces at play here and that things are definitely not what they seem to be.
Yesterday, I asked you how you felt about her, and you gave me a great answer. Now the question is, how does she feel about you?
First, let's talk about the acting. Domhnall Gleeson, who plays Caleb, did an okay job in this film. He was believable as the every nerd. Smart, but a little bit naive. Honestly, he didn't do anything special in terms of the acting. It's not to say that he acted badly or anything, it was just not stellar. The really important thing is, he is just a blank canvas that other characters manipulate and move to their desire.
Testing Ava through conversation is kind of a closed loop. Like testing a chess computer by only playing chess.
Oscar Isaacs, however, did a much better job conveying the overly smart tech mogul. Maybe a little too smart for his own good. A recluse, but always up for some drinking and fun and partying. But he does have that nasty streak within him that comes out every so often. I could imagine him as the CEO of Hooli if this was Silicon Valley. Just a bit more aloof and a little bit more mean. Nevertheless, Isaacs had a really great performance and I really enjoyed him far better than I did Gleeson.
What if instead of making art without thinking, he said, you know what? I can't paint anything unless I know exactly why I'm doing it. What would have happened?
The star of the show is obviously Alicia Vikander. This was the first movie I saw her in, and I didn't know what to make of her at first. But then as the story trudged along, she managed to weave into her performance moments that you actually think she's a robot and moments that you actually think she's a human, which for this role is dead on the money. Vikander managed to actually blur those lines in her performance, hooking you in to the main theme of the movie and locking you until the final reveal.
You're wrong.
Wrong about what?
Nathan. He isn't your friend.
As I stated in my intro, Ex Machina does not try to ignore the past films or past stories. The movie was inspired by many of those stories of robots, AIs, and the interaction between them and humans. Aesthetically, it kind of reminded me of the ending of 2001: Space Odyssey, especially that glowing white room and the way it got illuminated. I also noted that they used blues and reds as bad and good colors, just as a visual cue to nudge you to a certain feeling. And you will notice that the movie is mostly contained into the one house, so at times it feels like the inside of a spaceship, only to remind you that there is an element of the outside out there, and all of this just to focus you on the story, because it is very dialogue heavy. We, much like Caleb, want to discover if this is all real, if Nathan actually created a true working AI, and if he did, what are the real-life consequences of it all? Both Caleb and Nathan wrestle with the question throughout the film, but of course, it is also in the center of Caleb's interviews with Ava.
A traffic intersection would provide a concentrated but shifting view of human life.
People watching.
Yes.
Ex Machina differs from a lot of movies that deal with this subject because most of the dialogue revolves around that question. This makes it sluggish at times as we are trying to get to a point. At times, it feels like Garland was trying to show us something, but it never goes beyond flaunting the VFX, regardless if it's good or not. But because of that, it adds a lot of minutes to the movie that might have been spent elsewhere.
So we need to break the ice. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes.
What do I mean?
Overcome initial social awkwardness.
To summarize, a very thoughtful and philosophical movie about a very deep question that has real future repercussions. A beautifully well-shot movie with great VFX, however, it is a very slow burn. It is fine acting by the three main characters and has an open-ended ending that will leave you thinking, something that I feel is necessary with such a heavy question like this. I will recommend you pick up this movie to watch, especially if you are a fan of sci-fi, because I think the approach that was taken in this movie is very grounded in reality, and it is very important to the day-to-day lives that we're living. The dialogue that is created in the movie can be reflected into debates in real life that stay with you far beyond the ending of the movie itself. And I find it interesting that we're standing here about 10 plus years later still asking that question.
You hacked the world's cell phones?
Yeah, and all the manufacturers knew I was doing it too. But they couldn't accuse me without admitting they were doing it themselves.
I thank you for watching, and remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.